Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your Smart Mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, what's going on? This is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. This is episode 44, coming at you live on YouTube on March 25th. If you're listening to the audio version, enjoy your Friday, March 26th. We're going to dig into this, enjoy the weekend. We are going to get into WWE's Fastlane. But first, let's clear up some of that business up front. Make sure you guys get on all the social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. Subscribe, like, and share, and join all of those. Head on over to audibletrial.com/thekayfabesmark. Get a free audiobook, free 30-day trial. Helps us out, help you out. And that is that. All of that out of the way. Let's pop over to Eric, who I think has officially rejoined us. We lost him for a half a second, but he is here in the flesh.
Yo, what's up? It's the same old shit, different day. I tried to mute my mic, fat fingered it, ended the call. Luckily, I was back in on time.
But, I love it.
This week, you know what I did, Brian? I spent 4 hours in a row watching the new Justice League movie, the Zack Snyder cut.
Yeah? And?
I wasn't too mad. This is probably the longest movie I've ever watched in my entire life.
It was literally 4-hour movie?
4 hours and 2 minutes. And
Ooh.
I don't watch superhero movies. My son is a superhero fanatic, so he conned me into it. And yeah, I was impressed.
Huh.
Usually DC movies kind of blow compared to the Marvel ones.
Okay.
But,
well, you said it. I was going to say it, and you said it, so there you go.
I definitely recommend, before it's gone, before King Kong versus Godzilla comes out on the 31st, hop on that HBO Max and give Justice League Zack Snyder cut a try.
4 hours. I don't think I could do that all in one sitting.
Yeah, it was almost like a challenge for us. We're going to see if we could do it.
Yeah, I'm not positive I'd be able to, but that is pretty crazy. I guess it's on HBO Max, you had stated?
Yeah, HBO Max, and I'm sure there's some free trials floating around there.
Oh, I'm sure you can at least get a weekend out of it.
Shit. At least time it, see if you can get a free week so you can catch Justice League and catch Godzilla versus King Kong there on the 31st. See if you can get a twofer on there.
Catch the transition, like going to, for anybody in Michigan, going to Meijer in the middle of the night, you can get the Saturday sales and the Sunday sales.
Yep. Right around 6 a.m., right?
Yeah. All right. Well, per usual, jump into the news.
Yeah, let's jump into some news. Hit the ticker.
Bam, 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 bam. This is the KayFabe Smark coming to you with news. All right, news.
Not too much of a crazy week in the world of wrestling. Oh, Keith Lee, remember that guy?
I remember him. He was good in that NXT promotion.
Yeah, then he popped over to WWE Raw, put on a skirt, and then
hit the bricks.
Kind of just disappeared. He beat Riddle on February 8th and disappeared. Turns out he must have got injured or something's going on with him. He hasn't been medically cleared to wrestle, but he finally broke his silence on March 18th. Sent out a tweet that said, "I hear many of you. I see many of the messages. One day I will explain it all for the ones true to me. For now, know that I more than appreciate the continued support. And when I return, it will be filled with all the love I have for those that represent this legion." So yeah, he's being a little dramatic about it. Usually when wrestlers get hurt, they're not all fucking weird, but
he's kind of a weird
Keith
promo.
Lee, I guess.
He's a weird promo guy anyways. There was rumor mill that he had got the COVID, but that was the last I'd heard. But this has been a long time now, so I'm not sure. Either it kicked his butt.
February 8th, so it's been almost 2 months.
Yeah. So
I don't know.
I guess we shall just wait and see, and he'll explain in his legions.
So you and I talked about Andrade last week, how he asked for his release. He got denied, and we're like, fuck you gonna deny him for? Nobody wants him anyway. Jim Ross pretty much doubled down on what we said by saying, yeah, if someone like Andrade wants their release, they might want to make sure they got their ducks in a row and got something lined up before you go doing that, before you go throwing away your paycheck. Jim Ross caught some heat on that. They thought he was shitting on Andrade. But anyway, WWE ended up releasing Andrade.
Oh, wow.
And I quote, WWE has come to WWE has come to terms on the release of Andrade. We wish him all the best in all his future endeavors.
Ouch. He got future endeavored. That means that's the old pat on the back. You ain't coming back.
Andrade also another, I mean, it's good for him, but it's kind of also another kick in the nuts. There's no compete clause on Andrade's contract.
So they didn't give
so
a
they're
shit.
Like, whatever, dude, get out, go to Japan, go to AEW, won't give a fuck, just get the fuck out of here.
Go here, go there, just get out of here. Yeah, evidently the old future endeavor is not a good thing.
No.
In the world of wrestling. Taz went on a rant on it on some shoot interview I saw, and he commented on how when he left WWE, he got future endeavored and he knew he was never going back.
Yeah, and I think that's double for Andrade. I don't think we'll see him back in WWE ring. But you can't talk about Andrade without talking about his girlfriend, Charlotte Flair. They kind of go hand in hand. Right around the same time as Andrade getting released, WWE posted posters and graphics for upcoming WrestleMania, and Charlotte Flair had been removed from them. Some had leaked with her on them, and the official ones are sans Charlotte Flair.
Now, not saying that this is my go-to of why people disappear, because it's the second time I've said it, and we've only been recording now for about 8 minutes. This I heard was COVID as well.
Yes. And an update on the whereabouts of Monday Night Raw superstar Charlotte Flair. Charlotte revealed on Twitter that she had tested positive for COVID-19 and been at home resting and trying to recover. She sent out the following tweet on March 22nd. I know everyone has been wondering where I have been. I tested positive for COVID and have been at home resting.
Yes. So now there's that possibility talk for the WrestleMania. Asuka Charlotte, that was a thing. Asuka Charlotte, and then now Asuka Rhea Ripley, Asuka Charlotte Rhea Ripley. You know, some things being tossed around if she can get cleared in time, right?
Yeah, but it's looking pretty dim for Charlotte Flair, though. I think we're going to end up with Asuka Rhea one-on-one because Charlotte's dad, Ric Flair, the Nature Boy, tweeted on March 23rd, praying for a speedy recovery. You've set the bar so high. WrestleMania will not be the same without the Queen.
Yeah, I'm going to think that it's pretty tight to be independent. That type of COVID she got, right? Did she get the one where you just can't smell and have no taste and you feel fine? Or did you get the one that it's like completely murders your respiratory system? That we'll never know. Yeah. I guess we'll find out eventually maybe. But it sounds like she's probably getting beat up a little bit.
Yeah. If Nature Boy Ric Flair is already kind of calling it, who knows? There's still time, but we shall see. In our weekly Peacock news, Brian.
I knew we were going to cover the weekly Peacock news this week.
Got to cover the weekly Peacock. Peacock's been pissing some people off lately, starting with me as I tried to watch Fastlane. I'm never punctual, so I'm not punctual with the Peacock, and it pissed me off. Because I tried watching Fastlane a half an hour late. Turns out on the Peacock, on live events, you can't start from the beginning, you can't pause, and you can't rewind. And this feature will not be readily available for live events until August, SummerSlam time.
Oh, man.
So that means upcoming WrestleMania, you had the luxury of watching, well, luxury considering the event. It
Watching
wasn't
it
much of a luxury.
on the network.
But you watched WWE Fastlane on the WWE network, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
And you could pause and go take a piss and go get something to eat. And
Right.
meanwhile, on the Peacock, I just waited to Tuesday to watch it.
Now, right now, if it's on demand, if you will, on a callback, can you pause and start from wherever then and fast forward there?
Right. On the replay, you can do whatever you want with it. But I didn't really look into it too much. But even with the replay on the Peacock homepage, it said 5 days left to view. So I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much on that, but I don't know if they're taking these pay-per-views down a few days after they air or what.
Oh my gosh, this could be a hot mess.
Now, also, Peacock pissing people off. They've been slowly uploading content to the new Peacock page, which we understand that. There's thousands of hours of footage that need to be loaded up. And a lot of stuff hasn't made it up there yet, and people are mad about that. But also, some of the content Peacock is uploading, they've decided to censor because it doesn't meet NBC's guidelines. 2 examples of the things Peacock decided to censor once they uploaded the content to their servers is the Roddy Piper versus Bad News Brown match, where Roddy Piper painted himself half black.
Mm-hmm.
That is kaput. And also a segment from the 2005 Survivor Series event that featured Vince McMahon saying a naughty word. And it's a sad day. Anyone watching 2005 Survivor Series on Peacock will never hear this again.
We'll never hear. 1 second as I prep here. We'll never hear.
What's good in the hood?
Just holding it down, trying to take care of business.
Keep it up, I'm a nigga.
So Vince's little slip in Detroit at the Survivor Series shall never be heard again on a streaming avenue unless Peacock ends up dropping them at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan. I was talking with our good friend Andy. We were texting about this. I'm not a fan of recreating rules for new rules, changing history for new rules and saying, well, this didn't happen and, we got to edit it out. Should that have ever been done? Vince is a crazy bastard. What do you want from him? So he's going to go out on a limb. But, it happened, and it should just. I don't know why they can't have it under some type of the things that are written are not representative of NBC. These are just characters playing a role.
Right. There's a very broad spectrum on this. So I feel they could have went the route of Disney. Disney has some controversial content on their platform there, but before any cartoons with racist imagery or anything, they just put up a disclaimer. This was a different time. Shit was a little different back then, more acceptable, and stereotypical shit was done. Now, eliminating it altogether, I think that's ridiculous. I think a disclaimer would have covered Peacock's asses just fine.
Even a censor. Just throw a beep over it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know it's a small thing to worry about it. It was a 2-second thing, a throwaway moment from 2005 Survivor Series. Like, who really cares? It's just but it's just weird when that has to happen. So, but we shall see how the rest of it goes. Because the whole Attitude Era can get you a little worried.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of censoring going on if Peacock has their way with it. Let's see here. So I'm on a new platform for my notes. No more paper, Brian. I have a tablet now, and I've got my Google Docs pulled up with my notes, and I had a little panic moment here because my keyboard was taking up half the screen. So I had to figure out how to get rid of the keyboard.
Had a panic. We are all good. And now we are going to, I assume, get into some more news. What's your next topic you got for us, Mr. Eric?
All right. The next hot topic is Jim Cornette. Surprise, surprise. So Jim Ross recently was asked on one of his podcasts there what the AEW locker room thinks of Jim Cornette's criticisms. And JR, I don't know if he was being totally honest in this quote here, but Jim Ross's response was, "I'll be honest with you. I've never heard one talent say a word about him. I find that hard to believe considering all the Cornette jabs and references that have been on AEW television. Miro's temper tantrum on Twitter, Kip Sabian wishing death upon him. So I think Corny gets under people's skin over at AEW a little more than they want to admit."
Yeah, I would have to agree. That doesn't see how they couldn't, or how he couldn't get under their skin, and how they couldn't talk about him. It's Jim Cornette. He gets under my skin, and I have nothing to do with it.
And it's rumored, just rumor and innuendo, that there's now a rule in AEW to not interact with Jim Cornette on social media.
Well, which is probably a decent rule to actually have and, if you will, enforce. Like, that's probably something that's not a bad thing that can be handled.
Right. I mean, seeing what Cornette did to Miro verbally on Twitter, and Miro ended up deleting his tweets and everything. It's just, from all ends of the spectrum, you probably don't want to get in a verbal war with that guy. He's going to do his best to make sure your company and you look like shit.
Right. And that's his job. His job is to make people mad, to say things, and create controversy.
Hell, he's been a heel manager for like 40 years.
Yeah.
He's pretty damn good at it.
I don't think it's a role. It just comes natural. He's just a heel in life.
Yep. And our final news story of the week, a few names have been added to the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2021. Those names being Rob Van Dam, the Great Khali, and Kane. So now they will be joining Eric Bischoff and Molly Holly in the WWE Hall of Fame class of 2021.
Yes. It's a nice little class they got going on there. I think it's a decent little... It'll be interesting and nice to watch this one. Sometimes you get some people in there and you're just like, well, that's cool. I remember that guy one time. And I think they are also honoring the 2020 class because they kind of got the bone last year, right? So they're going to help like the NWO, Bella Twins, and
Jushin Liger,
yep,
British Bulldog, and JBL.
Yes. So
and another...
I was just curious, do you think they're going to have all of them be able to give a speech?
I don't know. That'd be a long-ass ceremony. But the hot news on this subject right now is for the 2020 class. Dave Bautista was supposed to be in the 2020 Hall of Fame class, but Bautista has since been taken out because he's got prior obligations. He made plans, and he can't be there. So WWE wants to put him in the Hall of Fame when he can actually be there and make a speech in person. So it was, Batista didn't do anything wrong. He didn't shit on a cancer patient or anything. They just decided, we're not going to put you in unless you can be there.
Well, I guess it's respectful. Respectful from everybody. He just was like, oh, you made it that day? Like, what could you have?
Right.
What do you have going on?
If I was going to be in the WWE Hall of Fame, I would keep my first couple weekends of April open because WrestleMania is going to be on one or two first or second weekend of April.
They announce it at the end of WrestleMania that you're watching.
Oh shit, you're right. You are 100% right.
So you can at least
Batista had all year.
Take a pretty good schedule. Yeah, you can take a pretty good stab in the dark on what weekend WrestleMania is going to fall by the end of the pay-per-view. So all you got to do is rewatch it there, Dave, and you would have known when the hell you should probably maybe take the week off because you might be a little busy.
Dave's smarter than us. He doesn't watch wrestling. But that's all I've got for news. So unless you got anything, I think we need the music again.
The music means I have no news. Nothing crazy happened in the world of wrestling. And then we will hit the 2-shot and we're back. All right.
Now,
Well,
Brian,
WWE
this
Fastlane.
week, yes. This week we decided that our focus would be WWE's Fastlane, which would normally be a good choice because it's the last pay-per-view before WrestleMania. And yeah, I think we made a mistake. We should be reviewing NWAs or something. I didn't watch that either, but I imagine it was better in Fastlane.
Oof. That was a stinkeroonie. Well, there's some highs and lows, but we'll overall, yikes. Well, just start it off and start at the first match here. What do you want to do?
Well, I did catch part of the pre-show there. So who fought Mustafa Ali or something? He fought somebody, right?
Yes. and then Retribution got mad at him, and everybody walked away from him. And
Yeah, that's the only part I caught. So Retribution, T-Bar, and Dickhead or whatever turned their backs on Mustafa Ali and beat him up. And yeah, so Retribution has kicked out their leader, and seems to be a trend nowadays in wrestling. So factions splitting, factions forming, factions.
Well, we will keep on keeping on here. What do you want to? How do you want to get in this first?
All right, let's start with the first match of the night. We've got the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match, and the drama behind this one is one of the teams, that being Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, they're facing each other at WrestleMania, but they also have an opportunity to become the Women's Tag Team Champions, and that would be a first, Brian, where the Women's Tag Team Champions would be facing each other at WrestleMania.
Yeah, would it? How cool.
I know. Well, that's the point that the commentators are driving home. And this match did a really good job. If burying Bianca Belair was their goal, they did a great job because old Bianca Belair looked like shit.
You weren't digging how they handled her?
No. So Shayna Baszler, first of all, let's start with everything wrong with this match here. Shayna Baszler, remember when she was a complete badass, experienced MMA fighter, she wrecked every girl in the Elimination Chamber and basically put them all in wheelchairs within 30 seconds just a year ago.
Correct.
Now she's in there, and Bianca Belair is actually out wrestling her and getting her in all these arm locks and whatever. So that may contradict what I said about Belair looking like shit, but they put too much pressure on Bianca here, and they wanted her doing power moves and shit to Shayna Baszler. And Shayna Baszler ain't that big. She's no Nia Jax, but still Bianca Belair just looked clunky and awkward and could barely lift Shayna Baszler, and Bianca just ended up looking like a weak rookie green. Yeah, I don't know. She just looked like shit to me in the ring with Shayna Baszler.
Agreed. I thought this match had little to no sense behind it. It was like it made the first cut. What was it? It was the opening match, right, of the actual pay-per-view.
Correct.
But treated like a pre-show match. Like, because you just had no faith in what was going down and how it was going to go down. Like, you have these people that are going to face, you have the two, Bianca and Sasha, that are going to face each other at WrestleMania, but they're still a tag team, and they're going to win the tag team championships, and you're like, are they really just going to bury the tag team titles like that and really not have them defended? Because they're gonna be tied up in the main event or the women's main event.
Right. I don't think anyone in their right mind expected that prediction to happen. That they were just gonna take them off of Baszler and Jax here. But Sasha Banks is shined like a beacon in this match. She is very talented, and she showed it by going in there and looking good against Nia Jax, which that's a pretty tall order to look good when you're in there with that behemoth who barely moves. It was basically like having a wrestling match with a brick wall.
Yeah, it can be. Now it's double-edged, right? It can also make you look really good, but you have to be able to work with that person. So if that, so I get what you're saying, that it's a hard task, but clearly she's going to be the better athlete.
Right, absolutely. Shayna Baszler and Belair do get another chance. They get another go around, and this time Shayna Baszler is in charge, and she's controlling everything. And even though Belair has the short end of the stick, and she's the one selling and taking the beating, somehow she comes out looking a lot better when Shayna Baszler is in charge. Bianca Belair can sell her ass off, and that was, unfortunately, we had to watch her get beat down in order for her to shine, but selling is what she did best in this match.
Yeah, great seller. She can work great on that end of things and putting people over.
Yeah. Sasha Banks gets in there with a hot tag, and once again, she was golden. She was in there super smooth. She was working back and forth between Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, throwing meteoras every which way. It was a little clunky, a little weird when she did that spot coming off of Nia Jax's shoulders. She comes off of Nia Jax's shoulders, ends up with Shayna Baszler in a headlock. Looked like she was going to do some sort of devastating DDT, but whatever got twisted around and they came around, it was just a bumblefucked mess, whatever that ended up with. So, yeah, a little clunky, and no surprise Nia Jax was involved in that.
She didn't break anybody's nose or break an arm or throw anybody through a table on accident.
Right. Belair does end up hitting a very impressive 450 splash on Shayna Baszler. Reginald, right on cue, jumps up on the ring apron to distract the ref. Sasha Banks knees Shayna Baszler in the jaw, and that looked stiff as fuck. That flying knee hit Baszler hard, man. And if that didn't really hit her, it looked damn good.
Yeah, those she can throw that thing around, it was either that she got caught hard or she was selling amazing. One of the two. I'm not sure which one it was.
And then the fake acting comes out. WWE just kind of stretches a little too far. They can't keep it to a wrestling match. They got to turn this thing into a soap opera. You get an argument between Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, and I don't know. It's not believable. Neither one of them have any conviction when they're arguing with each other. It just looks fake. And in the meantime, Shayna Baszler rolls up Sasha Banks for the pin, and Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler retain the titles as expected.
They can go defend the women's championship, tag team championships at the pre-show of WrestleMania.
Right, precisely. We get another argument between Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. Sasha Banks ends up slapping the living shit out of Bianca Belair.
Yeah, she mollywopped her.
Yeah.
She got mollywopped. There ain't no question there.
And then moving on from there, we've got video footage of Shane McMahon training in one of the training rings earlier, and he is throwing some Muay Thai flying knees and
pad Thai knees.
Shane O'Mac hurt his knee, and now he's got an ice pack on it, and he's walking around with crutches. And enter Elias. Elias needs something to do tonight. He wants to impress Shane. He wants to earn himself a match at WrestleMania.
This was stupid.
Yeah, we don't get the payoff yet. We just get Shane saying he has an idea.
It was just stupid. Even just stepping back before, I'm not even jumping the gun. It was just stupid. The whole story of Shane hurt his knee training. If you had a match that day, like, you wouldn't train like that 3 hours before your match. You wouldn't train in an all-out 98% energy expenditure training bout. It's just not going to happen. You're going to get a massage. You're going to relax. You're going to meditate, right? And I'm taking this, I'm throwing KayFabe out the window. I'm playing KayFabe and saying this is all real, 100%. How would you train before this? You're not going to train like that and be throwing Muay Thai kicks and being that sweaty and beat up before you go face Braun Strowman.
Right. A 385-pound behemoth.
You're like, and I'm going to go out all out in my training hours before I wrestle. No, they could have said it happened earlier in the week. They could have played something up. WWE forgets, I think, sometimes that we have the internet, YouTube, social media to share these things. So why wasn't this shared why didn't they create this knee gimmick on Wednesday?
Right.
They could have shared the news on NXT. They have a show on Wednesday. Remember that? That's part of your brand, WWE. You own that company. You can share something and release it there. Then it goes out to the Instagram and TikTok or wherever, Facebook communities, YouTube. And then there's a press release on it. And then it leads up to Sunday saying, hey, Shane hurt his knee. We got to figure out something. It's so easily cleaned up. Why would you buy that he was training like that on a Sunday afternoon before he wrestles Braun Strowman? I don't, and it's dumb.
Putting on a complete Iron Man match. You saw how beat down and sweaty he was when he's in there training. Right. That's precisely what I want to do as a 51-year-old man, is wrestle 2 matches in one night.
So then you got to buy, then he comes out and you go, okay, well, this is going to be, he's coming out, he's got his crutches, and you go, either he's faking. So WWE is good for that, though. The whole fake gimmick,
right,
where he's going to go out there with and be like, I can't fight you. And then he was faking, and he puts on a heck of a match and does a Shane thing. But then you see Elias, and then you go, oh, Elias. He's got all the ingredients, but makes a shitty cookie.
Yeah. That, I think, is the perfect metaphor for Elias. It's like, all right, this is everything we need in a fantastic cookie. We've even got the icing. And,
tastes like
man,
dog
this
shit.
cookie tastes like dog shit. Yeah.
Stupid ass cookie.
So we get our teaser. What could Shane possibly come up with Elias to do for him to earn a match at WrestleMania? They're gonna leave us hanging, Brian. We don't find out till later tonight.
Boy, I couldn't have a clue. He's got a broken knee and a guy wants to wrestle. Do you think you might get a shitty substitution? I don't think so. Tune in later.
I don't know. We should find out after a couple Applebee's and commercials and whatnot. Because this was, I don't know if this shit was just on Peacock, but did you get like stupid ass Applebee's commercials and stuff?
Oh, you're getting that $5 commercial Peacock version. You might have to jump to that 10 spot, boy.
I don't even pay the $5. I get it for free. As a Comcast internet subscriber, you get free Peacock, but they won't let you just pay $5 and upgrade. It's either you get it for free with commercials or you got to pay $10.
No credits here.
No. But they leave us hanging there. And then next we've got our Intercontinental title match. We've got Big E Langston going up against Apollo Crews.
You pulled out the Langston.
Oh shit, I forgot. Vince only likes one name now.
Yeah, he's allowed to be Big E.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not just E.
Just E. Or Biggie, like a Wendy's fry. He'd just be
Oh. But anyway, this new character change for Apollo, I don't get it, man. I think they're dancing on the line here. I looked into it and I see his reason why. He got his ancestry DNA test or whatever, and he's got royal Nigerian blood in his family. But the fake accent, the carrying a spear.
It's not fake. If you hear the promo, he said this is how he really talks.
Oh, he's been faking an American accent for the past 10 years?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I see this as a 2021 version of Kamala. And when Kamala died, James Harris, people were all up in arms about, I can't believe they made Kamala do that shit. Like, bro, Apollo Crews is Kamala 2.0.
He's a woke Kamala.
Yeah, pretty much.
For me, this portion right here, all I can say is they went heavy on the vignettes. It was like
Yeah.
vignette city and like long ones too. So again, texting with Andy while I was watching this on Sunday, we were back and forth, and he made a good point where he said doesn't know if this is because of the Peacock merger situation that they're going over to, trying to draw in some casual viewers, some new viewers on what's happening, because they went vignette bananas from this storyline, like the whole thing. They showed the whole thing. You didn't have to watch an episode of Monday Night Raw to figure out what happened here. They showed the whole transition of Apollo Crews to going from a guy that nobody knew existed to a Nigerian king.
It worked for me, dog, because I ain't watched none of this shit.
I mean, it filled it in, but my God, was it long. It would have been easier just to go back and rewatch them.
Considering this pay-per-view, which was only like 2 hours and 42 minutes or something like that, shorter than an episode of Raw. Yeah, it was a little vignette heavy. The actual wrestling matches was shit. You'd be lucky you got 2 hours out of this if you were just watching wrestling.
I'd say just skip them vignettes, man. It was so vignette heavy, but we shall continue here. What did you think? Where are we at on this Apollo Crews match?
This was a great match. These two, both heavy hitters, both powerhouses, both experienced, and they know what they're doing. A few of the spots that I wanted to point out was Big E spearing Apollo off the ring apron, just right off the get. That was pretty brutal. Big E's trash talking is just on point in this match. He's like, you wanted it. You asked for this ass whooping, and I'm going to give it to you. Big E was just laying into Apollo Crews.
Usually I hate overdone ring talk because you go, ooh, gives you them cringies, right? We're going, oh,
Right.
What are you doing? Like, and then it usually goes the opposite way too. But this was like believable, and it wasn't, because I don't think it was too much acting. It wasn't like, hey, Big E, be this guy and say this. It was like, hey, Big E, you're a giant dude wrestling a decent sized guy, but you're supposed to be you're the head dude in charge. So talk to him like you are. Like, just go out. It was just go out and be alpha male. That's all it was. Is what I'm trying to get to.
Right.
Like, it wasn't forced where he had to be this or be that or fake an accent or come over here. It was just like, go out and talk shit to this guy that's trying to beat you up. What would you say to him? So
this trash talking in this match was the polar opposite of the Bianca Belair Sasha Banks argument. That just seemed like acting, soap opera, bad acting bullshit, and this seemed legit. This was Big E being pissed off at Apollo Crews.
Right. The other stuff with the girls was like, you might as well just write it on the hand. They could have been like, and then I said that you're mean.
Big E splashing Apollo Crews on the ring apron twice. That's the hardest part of the ring, Brian.
I don't know if you
Big
knew
E
that.
is a big boy.
Big E's big, and the corner and the ring apron is the hardest part. No questions.
Yeah.
No secrets.
We got some over the head belly to bellies, and those were looking just fantastic, clean. Those belly to belly throws, suplexes were fantastic. This is a very clean worked match. Obviously not at the end, but we're not there yet.
Now, do you think this has to come into with, Apollo Crews is no schlub. Like, he's a in shape dude and a pretty decent athlete, right? So
Right.
you get two guys, Big E who has the power, and you've got a guy like Apollo that can sell the move and continue. So for these release belly suplexes and all that jazz, like he can pop and sell and throw and extend the move as much as the guy throwing it. So I think you got the right mix of the guys in there to be to put on a show like this.
Oh yeah, definitely. Apollo Crews, he gets his comeback, and he's still selling. That's the thing. Selling is key. And if this match was in AEW when the heels making their comeback, they wouldn't still be selling belly to belly suplexes from Big E Langston. They would just be, bam, 100% health. We're coming back. Crews has the art of selling and coming back at the same time. And he hit a triple German suplex on Big E, and that again, once again saying it, Big E is a big boy, and Apollo is just German suplexing him like Chris Benoit with fucking Marco Stunt. It looks so clean, so easy.
Chris Benoit and Marco Stunt. Now that would be a match for the ages.
Oh, I'd love to see that, especially with Chris Benoit in full CTE mode.
Oh, jeez.
I'd pay money to see that.
Time out. Let's continue on.
Yeah. Apollo Crews hits a clean ass frog splash, and man, I am all over this match. I'm loving it. Apollo's character is dumb as shit, but as for a wrestling match, this is fantastic. And then the finish happens. Apollo Crews attempts to put Big E in a small package, but ends up laying flat on his back in the meantime and gets counted the 1, 2, 3, which I read later on in the week that Big E was supposed to win the match. That part was fine, but it wasn't supposed to end like that. There was some sort of botch in there, some sort of fuck up. It looked like shit. And the way Apollo tried to clean up the mess was after taking the L in that point, he just went ham and started beating the shit out of Big E and talking a whole gang of shit to him, all along in his full fake Nigerian accent.
Yeah, this ending, you could tell something was messed up. It looked very confused. Everybody was kind of confused on what happened. The commentators kind of just little things, right? Everything was kind of very, what just happened? Where are we at? Where are we going from here? The wrestlers looked a little confused. They kind of wanted to continue the match. The referee dipped out immediately.
Yeah,
like it was just 1, 2, 3. Shit. Oh, well, I had to count it. The shoulders were down. Like I can't not do that. What are you gonna do then? Then we're having the same conversation, just a different way or a different conversation, but still talking shit. We're like, you just do the 1, 2. Oh, they kicked out. You pretend like the ref's like, oh, just the thing. They're doing the shoulder move, like they popped the shoulder. I'd be like, no, they didn't. She had to hit it and move on.
she had to. Apollo was flat on his back. I don't even know how that happened. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to hear much more about this. It just kind of happened, and we'll move on.
This will be edited out of Peacock.
I'm sure, because it's pretty offensive. Now we've got our comedy skit of the night right here. We've got this fella. He's an Old Spice salesman. He's the Old Spice brand rep. He's in the back of the arena with about 250 bars of Old Spice behind him. And he introduces himself as Joe Average. And Joe Average is trying to sell deodorant to Tozawa. Tozawa wants to find R-Truth. And I was covered from head to toe, Brian, and douche chills. Douche goose pimples were covering my body because I was already douched out, and that's before R-Truth even stuck his arm out of the deodorant pile.
I can't believe you. This was not even in my head to be a part of the show to be discussed.
This wasn't a commercial. This was part of the show. This was written by WWE writers to be an integral part of this pay-per-view event. So we had to include it. R-Truth sticks his stupid arm out of the pyramid of Old Spice and hands Tozawa a bar of Old Spice. Hilarity ensues as Tozawa goes after R-Truth. R-Truth is laying in a pile of deodorant. Joe Average is trying to pick up 300 fucking bars of deodorant, ends up laying on top of R-Truth for 3 seconds. And for about a 30-second period, Joe Average is your new 24/7 WWE champion.
Way to go, Joe Average.
R-Truth immediately rolls him up, gets his belt back, and that's the end of that. But Joe Average, if you go look him up,
is in the record books.
He's actually a signed WWE talent, and he's like an experienced Greco-Roman wrestler. He's jacked to the gills. And it's like, just off the bat, you look at this guy, if you find him on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and you just see with all his accolades, and he has a great body and a great look, there's so much shit they could do with him. And very first thing they do is they make him a deodorant salesman. So I don't see a very bright future for Joe Average here. And they named him Joe Average. That's kind of like Shorty G.
Joe Average, that guy over there, the other one. He should have just been Fella. Hey, guy, wrestler number 1.
I mean, shit, back in the day, there was Mr. Wrestling 2, and as gimmicky and as stupid as that name is, Mr. Wrestler 2 he was phenomenal.
All right, well, what's the next piece of horse shit that followed up on this pay-per-view?
You must be fucking Dionne Warwick because you're a psychic. You knew horse shit was coming up because we've got Elias in the middle of the ring getting ready to put on a musical performance, and he's got Shane McMahon in the ring with him.
Yeah, and he's got his other guy, too, that kind of looks like Elias, but is not. He looks like Elias was put in a dryer. The other guy is like Elias's little
I forgot
sidekick.
that guy's name.
Yeah, shithead McGillicuddy. Nobody cares.
But this is where Shane delivers the goods and pulls us off the cliff and lets us know what he meant when he came up with an idea. Turns out, Brian, surprise, surprise, Elias will be taking Shane's spot tonight against Braun Strowman.
Swerve of the year. I mean, swerve of the year.
This is, I hope Meltzer's taking notes because in the 2022 Wrestling Observer Awards, this one's taking it for Switcheroo Swerve of the Year.
I mean, it has to. I mean, who saw that coming?
Now, this is where we're treated to another vignette here of Shane basically making an ass out of the 6'6", 380-pound Braun Strowman, dumping cans of or buckets of green slime on him. You've got Braun Strowman crying about being bullied by rich kids or whatever when he was younger. And man, that it takes a lot of dirt to bury Braun Strowman, but they're doing it.
Yeah, they're like, hey, this is another good. This is a guy that actually is a tasty cookie, but they just smear shit on him.
Precisely. So what you get, you get a fucking another vignette, full long flashback video of Shane absolutely making Braun Strowman look like a pile of shit. And then we're going to try and dig a little bit of the dirt off of him by having Strowman completely dominate Elias in this match. Elias, another guy who's huge, jacked to the gills, is completely getting the shit kicked out of him by Braun Strowman. But it doesn't take a fantastic memory to realize that Braun Strowman was just getting the shit kicked out of him by a 51-year-old son of a billionaire from Greenwich, Connecticut.
Getting slime that is stored under the ring.
He's getting beat up by the Mean Street Posse, the leader of the Mean Street Posse. But now he can just whoop Elias's ass like nothing.
I just picture the ring crew setting up the ring, and they're like, hey, guys, we got 2 buckets of green slime left. Where should we put them? Under the ring. Oh, that makes sense. Why was it? I mean, where else would I put them? That's exactly where I would put my extra green slime. Where did the other green slime go to have 2 extra buckets stored under the ring? So stupid.
Well, Buckets of Slime R Us had a sale actually, Brian. It was buy 2 get 2 free.
Buckets of Slime R Us.
It took 2 buckets of green slime to power Shotzi Blackheart's tank.
Oh yes,
and they had to fill up her slime tank, and then we had 2 buckets left over.
It was leftover.
You know how that goes.
Leftover glow sticks from the DX glow sticks when they had their reunited tag team thing that they did a while back. They had all the stupid glow sticks.
The best thing in this match was Elias gaining control for about a half a second. He chop blocks Braun Strowman here, and then he hits that beautiful Macho Man elbow drop off the top rope. And Elias, already a spitting image of Macho Man if Macho did a few more steroids. That elbow drop was pretty.
Yeah.
But
he is a Macho Man reincarnated, just about to the T almost. He could play him. He should definitely be him in a I don't know, some type of documentary or something.
at least Dark Side of the Ring
There
or
you
something
go.
like that. But lo and behold, Braun Strowman gets control back of this match, ends up winning with the Strowman power slam there.
There you go. Who'd have thought? I mean,
Now-
who didn't see that ending coming? Where the stand-in that didn't have anything to do earlier in the night was going to lose to continue pushing another angle. Like, this whole thing was this was a waste of time.
Oh, a complete waste of time. And
For a pay-per-view, this is how they handled it on what was building up over a couple weeks of these two going at it, and then they're just like, oh, Shane hurt his knee, put that guy in the ring. It almost made me feel like he really hurt his knee.
yeah, who knows? But who cares? Now, what I'm wondering is Elias did hold up his part of the bargain. He did take Shane's place. Does this mean Elias gets a match at WrestleMania?
Dun,
I
dun,
don't know.
dun.
We shall see.
We shall see.
Now,
Maybe not, because it'll probably be in the pre-show, so neither one of us probably will see.
maybe he'll be the special guest referee in the women's tag team championship match. All right, so just in case you're all done laughing from the earlier comedy spot with the Old Spice Pyramid, now we've got comedy spot number 2 here with Matt Riddle in the back. And Matt Riddle's on a scooter, and he comes up with a business idea, and he wants Shinsuke Nakamura to get in on this business venture with him. Matt Riddle, is this normally how he talks? Because I never watch Matt Riddle. Does he always sound like a great value Walmart Tommy Chong?
Yeah, he's like your modern day RVD. Bro, dude, wow, hang loose.
He is just overdoing it way too much. His eyes are barely open. He's just playing the stoner gig.
Well, he's not really playing the stoner gig.
Well, I highly doubt that he is ripped on weed backstage. There is a drug policy in WWE.
I mean, that's why he's not wrestling in what was called the UFC. He couldn't pass what you call a drug test and got thrown out of real MMA fighting. So he went to pro wrestling.
Sorry, I guess I haven't been keeping up on the Riddle box here. But anyway, this fucking goof is in his panties, no socks, no shoes, no shirt. Decides he's coming up with a business venture with Shinsuke Nakamura. He's going to trick out scooters. They come in with a tight shot on Riddle's face, and if you've got a half a brain in your head, you just know Nakamura is going to walk away from the shot. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happens. Riddle's lost in his own little world, his own little promo that, again, had no place, meant nothing, was a complete waste of time. And the punchline, Brian, the kicker, is that when they come off the tight shot of Riddle's face, Nakamura is gone. My side was splitting.
Get it?
Nakamura didn't give a fuck.
Get it? Nakamura doesn't speak English.
But we go from that. I guess they just needed something for Matt Riddle to get him on TV here. We go into our Shinsuke Nakamura versus Seth Rollins match. This was a gem.
Well, I mean, this you would have to really try to mess up.
Yeah, this is a hard match to fuck up.
I mean, you're putting pros in there, unless you get a bad count at the end, that screws up the Big E match. But other than that, this is pretty much has to be a win from top to bottom. But they deliver, so let's go ahead and walk the dance here.
All right, so it starts out with a little bit of a slower pace. It was slow, but good. The almost like all the building blocks were there of a good match, set perfectly where they need to be. There was tons of back and forth between these two, and the selling, once again, the selling was off the charts with Seth Rollins and Shinsuke. They both sold their asses off. Seth Rollins is in control for a huge chunk of this match, and he is just doing a hell of a job playing the heel, getting the heat on Nakamura.
Yes. I think that's a good spot for Seth. Is just too good at being a heel. He's a great face, a great baby face, but he's just so good at being a heel. It just comes naturally to him.
Yeah, he's great at it. I I didn't really get the Monday Night Messiah gimmick. I don't know if he's doing some Friday night fingering Freddy. I don't know what he's doing at this point, but I haven't been keeping up on Seth Rollins here. But in this match right now with Nakamura, he's doing great. And then the shit kind of rattles and goes off the rails a little bit. Rollins has Nakamura down and he's in control of this match. And he decides he's going to spend 5 minutes of his wrestling match with Shinsuke Nakamura bitching about Cesaro and how Cesaro swung him 44 times or whatever. And now he's going to swing Nakamura. And since Nakamura's had about 10 minutes to rest right here, Nakamura just immediately counters the swing and turns it into one of his many submissions.
Yeah. This is where it got weird, planting a seed for WrestleMania or something. I'm not sure exactly where they were going with this. So that was a little wackadoo for me. I didn't like stick to wrestling. Don't keep it. Leave the soap opera stuff for backstage segments. That's where, to tell the story. Don't have Matt Riddle try to trick out a scooter with Nakamura for a backstage segment. Tell a story for the next match, when that makes sense.
Right. You would think, but
You would think.
making sense doesn't seem to be a priority in either of the two major companies right now. Nakamura's outside of the ring. Seth Rollins hits him with a suicida. We get a sling blade. It's a 2 count. We go to trading forearms back and forth for a little a little drama going on between these two. A Falcon Arrow. Nobody kicks out of the Falcon Arrow, but Nakamura does on a 2 count.
Nakamura does.
Nakamura hits a landslide on Seth Rollins, 2 count. We get a reverse exploder, and Shinsuke counters that. Rollins forearm and kick to Nakamura's head. And then Seth Rollins ends up stomping Nakamura's face into the mat and ends up getting the win. I'm sorry, I said earlier Nakamura countered. It was King Shasa.
Nakamura's got like 47 finishing moves.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was that. It started off hot. It got a little funky in the middle.
The drama, I didn't care for the drama in the middle, and then but the match itself had its, the most of the pieces held together strong for me comparative to what I've seen leading up to this.
Right. And the rest of the shit show of this pay-per-view event, this had all the pieces there. It just got a little jumbled in the middle. The whole Cesaro bitching bit kind of threw me off for a minute. But overall, it was a pretty solid match.
Yeah. They did a quick panic of, I got to tell a quick story. I got to tell a story. Just relax.
We move on from there to another 20-minute long vignette.
I mean, this was
this
vignette.
time between Drew McIntyre and Sheamus here.
Vignette City. Now, this one, well, just go ahead. We'll talk about it. I don't want to jump the gun.
Well, this one I liked.
The vignette series? Or
yes.
Okay.
Before we jump into the match here, we got a lot of old footage, cool looking footage from Irish Whip Wrestling and Florida Championship Wrestling of these two in their younger days. They've both been around about 20 years in the WWE system. And it's just kind of cool to go back that far and you see skinny old Drew McIntyre and Sheamus with barely any facial hair, and seeing them be best buds and watching it culminate into a rivalry.
Yeah, they've been telling a pretty good story with this one. This little rivalry thing, I can get down. I've been digging it, what I've been keeping up on. And then this vignette told a hell of a story that kind of drew you in. It definitely, WWE can put together a vignette. I'm not saying the vignettes were bad. I'm just saying there was a lot of them.
They were just heavy on them. And you've said that before, that that's what WWE's good at. They're good at a lot of things. They're falling apart on some things, but one thing they've always been consistent with is putting together a video package to let you know exactly what's going on, to let you know who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, and who to give a shit about.
Yeah, no questions asked. By the time the vignette's over, an uninformed fan can make a decision going into it of going, I like that guy, I don't like that guy, and they can paint the picture, and they do a damn good job that way.
And speaking of painting, Drew McIntyre is in the ring, and he's got his face painted like Mel Gibson. And I'm just waiting for him at this point to scream, "You said you'd blow me in the hot tub."
Here I am thinking you're going to make a Braveheart reference and yell freedom.
No, I made a Mel Gibson reference to his psychotic episode on a voicemail.
When he was screaming to his ex-wife.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
that's
anyway, moving on from that. We got Drew McIntyre. What? That's where WWE kind of fumbles. McIntyre's babyface, Sheamus is the heel, but McIntyre starts getting heat on Sheamus off the get-go. You got the good guy just going ham and being just incredibly brutal and underhanded with the heel. And so I thought you're just, on one hand, you're like, holy shit, McIntyre's got fire, man. He's great. And then on the other hand, you're like, man, for being a white meat babyface here, he's getting pretty dirty. He's beating the shit out of this guy.
But you are coming into this was a no rules match, like whatever you want to call it, no holds barred.
Yeah, that's true.
So, and Sheamus is a piece of shit, right? In the story of Sheamus, he'll kill you for looking at him crooked. So, I mean, kill him or be killed. So that's the way I took it. Like, it just showed that he was being the aggressor in the match, and running with it that way, not taking it too heel-esque. It was just like, hey, somebody's got to die.
Yeah, I mean, he did push the envelope a little bit. There's not too many baby faces out there that you would see Irish whip somebody into a set of steel stairs and then stomp their head into the stairs.
Well, you're right on that. I guess I can't.
Not too
deny
many
that.
good guys are going to do that, but Drew has showed us many times that he's got that fire, he's got that moxie, he's not afraid to get dirty.
Right. I'm glad that this was a street fight, no holds barred match, and nobody wore jeans. There was no denim to be seen.
Yeah, I don't know what fell apart there. I thought denim was a requirement in all street fight no holds barred matches.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a must-have, but they did not. So I'm not sure how this stands in the record books, where we're at here, but it may be flawed. There may be an asterisk on this one. But these guys beat the hell out of each other. And I'm not even saying that, like, in pro wrestling terms, like, in a shoot. These guys beat the hell out of each other. Call it fake. This match was not fake. This match was predetermined. And I know that's always a joke in wrestling, but that's all there was to this match. They said, you win. Beat the shit out of each other. All right, see it catering.
So WWE did get their delivery from Kendo Sticks R Us too. That delivery came right after Green Slime R Us. And so we've got 52 Kendo Sticks under the ring, and that's where these guys decide to show that this is no holds barred. They beat the welts on both of their backs were just very apparent. There's no faking those Kendo shots.
No.
Or those Kendo Stick shots.
The best part of it for me, too, not the best part, but the part that works out so good for this is that how pale Sheamus is. Like, and it just shows, like, unfortunately, kid, like, you have translucent skin. So if I hit you with a toothpick, it's going to welt up and show a red mark, and it's going to look great on TV. So he got beat up, and they went for it, and you saw every bruise and nick and welt, from kendo sticks to stairs to TVs in this match.
And then they get a little creative with the kendo sticks, a little too creative. You've got Sheamus grinding the kendo stick into Drew McIntyre's teeth, which was a little stretchy for me, because if you're really trying to grind the kendo stick into someone's teeth, you're going to knock one of their teeth out, or you're going to chip it or something. So it's like that came off as fake, followed by the McIntyre spot of grinding the kendo stick into Sheamus's eye socket.
Yeah.
Again, comes off fake, because if that had any reality based behind it, Sheamus would be missing an eye, or he'd at least be blind.
Yeah, really simply too, right? It wouldn't take a whole lot to screw that to get that done.
Yeah. Funny spot. There's not too much comedy in a no holds barred match like this, but McIntyre is behind Sheamus, and he's holding his facial hair or his cheeks or something. He's yanking his face back, and he screams, "Smile for me."
The old double fishhook move there.
Yeah. The strikes between these two guys look fantastic. They're laying them in. They are not pulling punches in this. They don't want to take the risk of looking like they're just throwing fluffy pillows at each other.
Yeah.
They are laying these punches in.
They went out there as two friends and said, "Hey, let's beat the shit out of each other tonight and make them believe this." All right, fuck it.
I make a note on how McIntyre is selling his ass off after the suplex on the arena floor, but I don't think selling that was too hard.
No. When it just happens and looks and it really does fucking hurt.
Yeah. They take a page out of the Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns book, and they go up to the TV sets, and they're fighting in the audience with the all the WWE Universe fans in there, and McIntyre ends up suplexing Sheamus on the floor after he throws him through a bunch of TV screens. Do you think those were legit sparks?
No.
You think they had some sparklers set up for leftover of 4th of July?
Yes, they were left over from the exploding ring match at AEW. AEW shared their Sparklers Are Us delivery with WWE, and those were not real. No.
Yeah, so that looked pretty funky there. Sheamus ends up bro kicking Drew McIntyre over the barricade and hits a white noise through the announce table. And this is where Drew McIntyre should have been dead after that. He takes both of Sheamus's finishing moves, one of them onto the arena floor, and the other one, the white noise, takes it through an announce table. And but no, we get the old switcheroo here. We are informed earlier in the match that the only way the match can end has to be in the ring. That part caught me a little off guard, but it was necessary for the finish in this match.
Necessary for the finish, unnecessary to be delivered in such a weird way, too, because I didn't recall it in the 42-minute vignette that they had leading up to this.
Right. They waited till we were about 15 minutes into this match and way out in the arena fighting, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, you have to be in the ring to get pinned."
Yeah.
Which, has that ever been a rule in a no-holds-barred fucking fight anywhere match?
Only similar rule that I've ever seen is that you get pinned, and then you have a 10 count or so to make it back to the ring, and you can continue. Seen something like that, where you can get pinned in the in the aisleway, and then they would give you like a 10 count or something to get back to the ring, and you could have a second shot. But other than that, no. Like where you got to go all the way back. Because why would you ever want to make your guy leave the ring?
Right. That's true.
I just killed a 250-pound man out in the concession stands by the hot dogs, and now I got to drag him back up 300 yards, up some stairs, across some TVs, back to the ring to pin him. By the time we get back, he won't be at full recovery, will he?
So yeah, that whole stipulation was put into this match just so the finish could happen. After a white noise through the announce table, anyone in the right mind assuming that has to be the finish of the match, McIntyre has to be out. But because Sheamus has to regather himself and get Drew McIntyre up and get him back in the ring, that gives McIntyre a chance to recover, ends up hitting Future Shock on Sheamus here, and there just happens to be a piece of the announce table right smack dab in the middle of the ring. Hits a Claymore after that, and that's a wrap on this match. Drew McIntyre wins.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one. This one I liked, probably because everything had been such a lull, not the greatest of matches. Even the good ones, we just talked about Seth and Shinsuke, was a good match, but, compared to everything else, yeah, it looked like Macho Man and Ricky the Dragon at WrestleMania 3. But, so this match was really, intense. And a lot of big moves, power moves, a lot of, they added the explosions, there was sparks, there was people going through tables, it was definitely a pick-me-up from what had been a deep lull in this in this pay-per-view card that I could have cared less about by this point.
Right. So, in the scheme of things, it was a gimmick match. These two could have put on a hell of a regular-ass, brutal wrestling match in a ring without all the gimmicks, without all the kendo sticks, without the TV explosions. But that being said, even with the gimmicks and the hardcore nature of this match, it still stuck out like a 5-star match, contrasted against other things that happened in this
Right.
pay-per-view, especially the next match.
Yes. So, let's talk about that.
All right, so we get another package, Brian. I think we've got to be legitimately, just in video packages, we've got to be around a half an hour of just those, wouldn't you say?
That has to be the 42 minutes of the 2-hour and 42-minute card.
Yeah, so we get a whole recap on the Alexa Bliss Randy Orton story, and it's good to see that somebody's been digging through old WWE VHS tapes, and they dug up some Papa Shango work, and they're like, well, shit, the puking sludge gimmick worked for Charles Wright, the Godfather, back in the day. You know what? Let's do it for Alexa Bliss and Randy Orton. We're going to have Alexa Bliss become a voodoo doctor, and now Randy Orton's going to puke back black sludge every time he's in the vicinity of Alexa Bliss.
Now, the WWE has never found it necessary to send him to a medical facility because he is vomiting black sludge. They just let him go out and have a match.
That's got to be a sure sign of liver failure or something to that
Yes,
effect.
he's leaking bile from his stomach. He's throwing up bile. Let's let him go out and wrestle. He should be fine.
I think maybe he just got into the buckets of green slime earlier in the night.
That'll do it.
And it was spoiled. It wasn't properly refrigerated. And in his stomach, it turned into black sludge.
It was stirred with a dirty kendo stick, and they stored the sludge under the ring, and was kept out. I mean, you got to keep that stuff refrigerated.
Yeah. Right. You got to maintain your temperatures, folks. So Randy Orton's just got a little food poisoning, and
Just a little food poisoning.
After his entrance, and he's up on the turnbuckle doing his thing, showing the greatness that he is. Randy Orton, a true legend. In the middle of his show-off flexing routine, starts puking black sludge again.
The doctor ringside doesn't care less. He just lets it continue.
No. Alexa Bliss makes her way to the ring, and it's a stare down. And at this point, What are we supposed to expect?
Personally, we expect what we got. That it has to be a song and dance, and they have to put on a play. What I was hoping that they would do and surprise the hell out of us is just have Randy literally beat her up.
Right.
She's 4'6", right? I mean, Alexa Bliss is tiny. Randy Orton looks like a monster next to her. And he just RKOs her out of nowhere and just call it a wrap and just...
Right. Long gone are the days where we can see Randy Orton RKO female, I think. But truly, that's what I was hoping for. Just put an end to this thing. Have Randy Orton just power slam her or RKO her. You know he'll take care of her, pin her, and that's the end. But we are in the age where that's not going to happen.
Right.
Randy Orton's not going to lay a hand on a 4'10", 80-pound girl here. So what we get is what we got. First, we start off as Randy Orton's approaching Alexa Bliss. The camera comes in tight, so we can't see where it comes from. She shoots fire at Randy Orton, or fire shoots up into the sky. Something to that effect.
The camera angles on that were atrocious.
And we get another stare down, and we're outside the ring. And Alexa Bliss just looks up to the ceiling, and by the magic within her, entire ass lighting rig just falls down. And once again, the real magic was the camera angle. That was the cheesiest shit.
The cameras were just in the perfect place and not see things falling from out of frame and where fireballs came from.
So Alexa Bliss has already shot fire once. She's made objects fall from the sky. Then she's shooting fireballs out of her hands at Randy Orton. So she shoots a couple Hadoukens at him. And this was the stupidest. I don't know, Brian.
Randy Orton's too damn good for this.
I don't think we've seen a stupider match than this, at least since you and I have started podcasting. And that's saying a lot because we've watched football fuckery.
And we've seen the swamp match with Bray Wyatt and the other guy that we just spoke about.
So we've seen the football field match. We've seen the swamp match with Randy Orton, or not Randy Orton, I'm sorry, The Fiend and Braun Strowman.
Right.
And we saw the Britt Baker dentist
match.
office match. And this tops it all. This was the stupidest shit. So after Alexa Bliss is done with her magic routine, the crispy Fiend makes his entrance. We see a burnt, crispy arm rise from the ring and grab Randy Orton's leg. And the Fiend, who, what was this, 2-3 months ago, 6 months ago, something like that?
Year and a half.
He got burnt to an absolute crisp, just a black charred corpse in the middle of the ring. And 6 months later, he just got a melted mask and some burnt clothes, and he is back to his old self again. We get a little stare down between crispy Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton.
Yeah. This poor Bray Wyatt. That's all I can say. Poor Bray Wyatt. He's good, too. And you know what the fucked up thing is? Is he's going to make this work.
How? How do you make this work?
Because he just does. But he's just kind of good. Like, if he gets to talk as crispy Bray Wyatt, as melted candle Bray Wyatt, he will make it work. Look what we did with the Firefly Funhouse thing. In his like goofy like Mr. Rogers TV show. I go, this could be either really bad or really good. And the crazy bastard like put it over. He'll probably make
Brian.
He'll probably make this melted thing work if he gets to talk. Now, if he just has to be like look like a burnt up Stay Puft Marshmallow Man walking around the arena and he doesn't get to talk, like then it's just gonna get, old and moldy real quick. But As soon as they give him the stick, you'll probably buy into it a little bit. It'll take you some time, and you go, oh, shit. But he can just morph again. He's Bray Wyatt. He's the Fiend, right?
Right, but just the whole point of this thing, that this whole gimmick, this whole angle, everything's a fucking magic trick with Bray Wyatt. And that takes, we are so far out of the realm of professional wrestling at this point.
Well, yeah, that's no question. It's not even funny
This
now.
is a fantasy Dungeons and Dragons fucking bullshit cartoon. Anytime Bray Wyatt's on the screen, whether it's a swamp match, whether it's the Firefly Funhouse where he puts John Cena in a dream on WrestleMania,
I give him
everything's
the
magic and fantasy cartoon.
That's the only one I give him the benefit of the doubt on, because it was WrestleMania was supposed to be over here. It was supposed to be this. And then, we had what's called COVID, quarantine, lockdown come in hot, and things got changed up. So I'll give WWE the benefit of the doubt on that one. But other than that, these have all sucked. Big weenie.
But let's get to the finish of this barn burner of a match here. Crispy Fiend Bray Wyatt hits a Sister Abigail on Randy Orton here. And you and I have watched, even in this show, about 15 finisher moves not put someone down for a matter of 3 seconds so they can be pinned after a 20-minute match. We've seen it in every pay-per-view, every Raw, every AEW Dynamite, that finishing moves don't do shit nowadays.
Don't mean shit, don't do shit, won't be shit.
But Randy Orton has not taken one bump in this match at this point. He's just watched fire and watched lighting rigs fall. One Sister Abigail knocks Randy Orton the fuck out. He is out for a solid 10 minutes so that Alexa Bliss can very seductively straddle him and grind for the 3 count, because fuck it, at this point we've seen so much magic, we might as well see more. A referee appears out of nowhere and counts the 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I mean, even when Randy Orton loses, he still wins.
Right. Randy Orton did have to answer to his wife, though, I'm sure, when he made it home, because as this match wrapped up, Kim Orton, Randy's wife, tweeted, and I quote, "Alexa Bliss, you might have just fucked up, little girl."
Yeah, I saw something on the internet that was saying like it should be Kim Orton and Alexa Bliss at the next pay-per-view at maybe WrestleMania or something.
Why not? WWE could. I don't put it past them that they'll eventually just have a match with a potato and a fucking carrot stick. I don't know.
I think I need to buy another Funko Pop of Bray Wyatt's Fiend character and then microwave it. And then that way I can have crispy Bray Wyatt and have him melted, or I'll put fireworks on it, and that way I can have the new one, right? I don't even have to go buy it. I can just microwave it and throw it out.
I think a can of Aquanet and a lighter.
There we go.
Would toast them up just fantastically.
Make them look just right. Well, yes, that was a big pile of dog doo-doo of a match. Randy Orton's too good for that shit, and that's all there is to that.
Yeah. Now, moving on from that, we get our main event of the night. And this, Brian, this
was a barn burner.
This made everything okay. It didn't make
the fuck?
Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss a good match. It didn't make any of the shit we saw previously fantastic. But this was about the best you could do for a main event after watching this pile of excrement for the past 2 hours.
Oof. That's saying nothing.
So we've got Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns going at it for the Universal Championship. And we've got Edge as the special enforcer to make sure nothing hairy happens.
No Harry and the Hendersons here. I thought, I can't believe you gave this thing credit.
You didn't like this match?
No.
All right.
This was fucking NyQuil. I was so bored. I was so
Oh,
bored.
I loved it.
All right, well, go
So-
ahead.
All right, we shall compare and contrast on this. Now I know this is a way to really put over the excitement in a match, but the psychology in this match.
I
Daniel
can't tell
Bryan's
if you're working me. I literally can't tell if you're working me.
The psychology was on point. This is not a work. This is a shoot, Brian. You've got Roman Reigns, the cocky asshole, head of the table, powerhouse, built like a brick shithouse. You got the underdog, Daniel Bryan, who is skinny like a twig. Everybody's behind him. He's the Rocky Balboa in this. And right off the bat, Daniel Bryan is just taking the shit out of Roman Reigns here. Hits him with a heel hook early on, and Roman Reigns has to scurry to the ropes. There's a fuck ton of close calls where Roman Reigns almost gets taken out, and it really turns this match on its end here, where it gets you behind Daniel Bryan. I've never really liked Daniel Bryan. I've always thought he's been too small to wrestle. I've always thought of him as a cruiserweight. He's talented, and I never really gave a shit when Daniel Bryan was in the ring. Well, this time he's not. This isn't a Chris Jericho, Orange Cassidy situation where the little guy's beating the shit out of the big guy. This is a bunch of pokes, a bunch of catching Roman off guard, catching him close calls to where the psychology is being really worked, that Roman is going to actually have to try to beat this twerp.
Okay, I can get that. Yes, they put on a good David versus Goliath story. Little
That's
guy.
a simple way to put it.
That's a simple few less words than what you used, but big
Just
guy,
a couple.
real wordsmith. But man, when Roman was in charge of this match, when he was on the offense, it was just slow, and him walking around in this like what's supposed to be methodical stalking, and you're going, if you're that, like, you just have, why don't you just kill him? Like, kill him. But it's just, maybe it's just because I just can't stand Roman Reigns.
That probably has a lot to do with it. I'm not a huge fan of Roman either. I believe it was a match. Did he fight Drew McIntyre a while back? And you and I both agreed it was supposed to be methodical, but it was just like fucking just like molasses.
Yeah, that's
going through the head of a needle.
That's what I felt. This was just slow and molasses when it was when Daniel Bryan wasn't on the offense.
Now,
and bad ring talk. They give Roman Reigns his ring talk where he's in. You can hear him talking, and he's like, "Come on, you wanted this. Stay down. It's my table. Shut up. Shut up."
His ring talk is terrible. We're gonna agree 100% on that. Roman Reigns should just keep his fucking mouth shut.
You have Paul Heyman there. That's all you need.
Side note: supposedly, it's rumor around the wrestling mill here that Heyman's contract is almost up. So it'd be interesting to see if he resigns. Because if he doesn't, bye Roman. But anyway, back to this match here. See, I don't like Roman's methodical antics either, for the most part. But because the psychology was constantly on in this thing, they never stopped working it. Right down to Bryan's strategy. His strategy seemed legit. If this was a real fight between Roman Reigns, 6'4", 250 pound or whatever, and Daniel Bryan, the little guy. This was a strategy I think Daniel Bryan would use in a real fight. Kind of stick and move, sneak some shit in there. And then Roman Reigns, because he's become such a sadistic asshole, you almost still follow the psychology in it when he takes control, because he's just slowly punishing, slowly torturing Daniel Bryan. That was if there was a downside to the match, that's what it was, because Roman works too slow and he's almost too fake about it. But story wise, I'm still in it. I see him just kind of turning the screws on Daniel Bryan.
You're not making incorrect points, so I can't counterpoint you and go, you're wrong, because they did
No,
tell.
we're just looking at it through different lenses.
Exactly, is what I'm getting at here, is that it's just like, I just looked at it and saw Roman Reigns. It just moved. Like, if you were to say, like, quick, I say a match, you give me your reaction, and I would just say slow and boring. Like, that was how I would just sum this up with a quick snap of the fingers. So that's just what I take away from it. That's just like what I remember. The last taste in my mouth is just slow and boring. I even texted Andy and said, what's the main event? Like, what's the next match? Like, what do we got left? And he's like, this is the main event. And I go, oh, fuck. Like, I was just so removed from it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It was just all there with Daniel Bryan getting so close, like 100 times. Daniel Bryan attempting a hurricanrana on Roman, and Roman turning it into a Boston Crab. And
I think part of it, the other thing that took me out of it, was I just didn't buy Daniel Bryan winning the title at Fastlane a month before, 3 weeks before WrestleMania.
oh, it'll never happen. It would never happen in a million years.
Right, so then I didn't find any necessity to invest into the match in what was given in front of me, because I'm going, well, it doesn't matter. I can look at Instagram and you know what's going to happen at the very end, or how everything's going to get pulled apart here. So that was the other part that took it away from me. I felt nothing, and I just kept saying, and then I would forget Edge was out there.
Right.
And Edge has got the match against Roman Reigns already. He's already called for it. So there should have been more. Like, even when Edge, I don't know where we're at here, but Edge finally gets involved, right?
Right.
But to me, it should have been Edge gets involved at, like, the damnedest super close of a 3 count. Like, Daniel Bryan is going to win this, and, he wants Roman Reigns. And then he should interfere. That's just like, he just kind of stood over there in the corner for the most part and just had the best seat in the house. Like, what was the point of him being on the outside of the ring for so long? Or what was the point of him being out there? What were we getting at with that?
Yeah, I can see your point there, because why would there be a need for a special enforcer? I guess at that
And a special
point,
enforcer who has skin in the game of who wins.
now, on one hand, so you said that he should have got involved when Daniel Bryan was a
Or like
nut hair away from winning, because he wants Roman Reigns. But I was almost looking at it as Daniel Bryan would be an easier target to pick off at WrestleMania. So I would look at it that he would want to fight Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania.
Yeah, or just some type of screw job. Like, there should have been more of a screw job one way or another, of saying, putting Edge out there. The whole time you're going, all right, when are you going to do something, or do something to make it a 3-way match at WrestleMania. I don't know, but it just kind of hung out.
Yeah, before Edge gets involved, this thing's still going for me, because you get a series of false finishes that would normally happen in WWE, such as Daniel Bryan face stomps Roman and puts him in a yes lock. And he holds it for a long ass time, has to readjust it, and Roman's selling it. And it's almost like, all right, Daniel Bryan's holding this thing. He's not going to win, though. Roman's going to get out of it. But then Daniel Bryan puts him back in it. And you're almost expecting, like, holy shit, like, this is the time where Roman Reigns might actually tap. But then they turn it on its head. Roman Reigns breaks out, and then it's a grounded pound, and then power bomb and a 2 count. And then we just turn up the octane on it a little bit. Daniel Bryan misses that knee strike, takes out the ref. Roman spears him. Edge has to come into the ring and does a 2 count. Now Daniel Bryan has a triangle choke on Roman, manages to transition a triangle choke into a yes lock, and then you got Jey Uso coming in. And now things are starting to get bumblefucked at this point. I thought this was like a classic methodical psychology-filled match, and then now we're just tossing shit in.
I was okay with the match. I just thought the match was slow. Bottom line, that was my only gripe against it. And then when they add in Jey Uso, then you just crumple up the paper and say, okay, what the hell are they going to do now? Who's next?
Right. Now we got to WWE this thing up and just start having run-ins and shit. And I'm pointing it out. Jey Uso, when he did those super kicks, slapped the shit out of his leg when he was kicking. He did not follow the rule at gorilla position that says do not slap leg when kicking.
That crazy bastard.
I hope he got fined.
He's sitting at the table, though.
That's right. His cousin Roman
is at the head of the table. Duh. Can slap all the legs he wants.
Jey Uso sends Edge into the post, swings a chair at Daniel Bryan, ends up catching a knee to the face. Daniel Bryan snaps and beats Jey Uso with the chair. Then Bryan swings the chair at Roman Reigns and ends up hitting Edge. Now Edge is pissed at everybody.
Yeah. Well, duh. You don't hit Edge with a chair. He was the one that invented the concerto with his buddy Christian Cage over there in East AEW.
And then the back and forth continues. We get a Superman punch and from Roman Reigns, which connects. Then we get a spear attempt, which gets turned into a yes lock. And the drama continues, Brian. Roman is out. He is spitting tan foam from his mouth here. They were out of black sludge, so now Roman's just spitting regular sludge. And he's tapping out, but there's no referee. What do we do at this point?
Oh, boy. This was just a stinkeroony of just like, they went from what could have been, they could have drawn me in to just, now it's just, like you said, reach in the bag of gimmicks, pull out a thing, and see who's going to come out and what's going to happen.
Right. That's basically what it turned into. Edge is just pissed at everybody now, beats the shit out of Roman and Daniel Bryan with a chair, screams, "This is mine," with the championship belt, and then he's out the gates. Edge is out.
Now, and Edge got so stressed out that he grabbed his dry, crispy hair and he pulled it so hard that he looked like Christopher Walken as he was rolling out of the ring. He's a little too old. He needs some hair care products in there. His hair's a little too dry and crispy to be yanking on it like that.
Yeah, shit's gonna catch fire from friction. But Roman ends up dragging his dead limp body over on top of Daniel Bryan. We get a new ref in the ring, 1, 2, 3, and officially it looks like it's going to be Roman Reigns and Edge at WrestleMania. But the rumors shooting around is that this is somehow going to get turned into a 3-way.
See, if they're going to do it into a 3-way, there could have been about 32 other ways to make this a little more interesting into a 3-way. So now I say just leave it alone. I think that they could have had Daniel Bryan win this you still have, 3 weeks before WrestleMania? Ish, give or take. So you still got a couple weeks left there. So you got a couple weekly shows to get through on Friday Night SmackDown. You could have had the title go back to have it as Roman Reigns. A little interruption. They did it a couple months ago with Drew McIntyre losing the title to Randy Orton for 48 hours.
Yeah, good point there.
So you could have teased that. You could have had him get over on. You could have had Edge interfere to get Daniel Bryan over because he'll be the easier win, right?
Right.
And then have it still go back to Roman Reigns and move on from there, or tie that into a triple threat match where now it's Edge and Daniel Bryan, and then Roman Reigns wants to invoke his, like at WrestleMania, right? He wants to reinvoke his rematch clause right there. WrestleMania night. I want my rematch tonight. So then Daniel Bryan's got to face him and then face Edge. He's got a Roman Reigns. There's a couple different ways that could get a little creative with this, but they just, had Edge kind of get his dry, crusty hair, got stressed out, and he hit the bricks. Like, he didn't even hit Roman. He should have hit both of them.
Didn't he hit them both with a
chair?
Oh,
he did. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself there. But it just should have been. They could have done some more with it. It was a boring match. It got a little wacky with everybody and randomness getting involved. Jey Uso ruined it for me, and then Edge getting mad and finally getting involved, but not really altering the end of the match too much.
If you look at it from a different perspective, if you look at the beginning of the match, the way you saw it, the way this whole match comes together is just boring snail's pace, and then immediately into horseshit chaos, and nobody knows what's going on, and then a funky finish. So yeah,
you described my experience.
Your experience was a shit sandwich, and my experience was a beautifully formed corned beef Reuben with all the perfect toppings, and then instead of plucking a toothpick on it, they just took a big shit right on top of the sandwich.
But in everything that you stated, I agree with. So if we go back and rewatch it in different eyes, you can go, yeah, they did great for 80% of the match.
Psychology-wise,
and
yeah.
Then 10%, then the 10% clusterfuck in the middle, and the 10% shitty ending. But yeah, that's that. It was. I do dig though about these pay-per-views that they are wrapping up at respectable times.
Right.
Yeah.
I was over at Reddit on the Squared Circle subreddit, and the mega thread for this pay-per-view, so many of the comments were like, man, the best thing about this pay-per-view was that it was only 2 hours and 42 minutes long. People are loving the shorter pay-per-views.
I don't disagree with them, and I like the fact that they're starting a little earlier. They're starting at 7 instead of a pre-show at 7, and then the show at 8. Because then that puts you to 11 or 11:30. Just call me an old man, but man, wrap this stuff up around 9:30 to 10 o'clock, and I'm a happy little dude.
Yeah, believe it or not, you and I still have day jobs, and we got to work Monday morning.
Yeah, and I got kids like children-aged kids. You got an adult child now. I've got so that takes me out of the game. That was about the wrap of the pay-per-view, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it for Fastlane there.
The real oxymoron of a title for most of these matches on Fastlane, moving about. There was no fast in anything about this pay-per-view. It was nice and slow, and everything happened at a snail's pace.
Yeah, and I did watch AEW this week. We can change gears here for a moment. By no means do I want to go into a full review of AEW, and I think you're with me on that train.
Right.
But I do want to touch on a couple things here. So we have Christian backstage, and he was giving some advice to one of the members of Top Flight, and the Varsity Blondes because they had a match scheduled later on. And it is announced that Christian is going to have his first match next week on Dynamite, and it's going to be against his old buddy Frankie Kazarian, his old TNA pal.
Yeah.
And in true AEW fashion, the beef between these two, the reason they need to fight is, believe it or not, Kaz thinks he outworks Christian. And Christian, he has a shirt printed now over at Pro Wrestling Tees, says he outworks everybody. So we're gonna see who works harder.
He's gonna build things.
That is our rivalry, Brian. Who's a better employee?
It should I thought the same. That was a little weak as well. That this couldn't have been as simple as a. Let me see here. What could they have done to make this more interesting? Oh, hey, I've been with this company since day one, and you think you're going to come in here, Christian Cage, and you're going to get a title shot? I'm Frankie Kazarian.
There you go. You just booked it better than fucking the billionaire Tony Khan.
That's all you had to say. The same thing happens at the end.
But no, we've slapped this workhorse gimmick on Christian, and maybe it was his idea. I don't know. But nobody says no in AEW. So whoever's idea was, Christian is a good worker, and that's the rival we're working with. Is Kaz has a reputation of being a workhorse, so they'll be going against each other. And as a wrestling match, I'm pretty pumped about seeing that. I like Kaz. I like Frankie Kazarian. I like Christian Cage. So,
yes, it has all the possibilities.
I think this is going to be a good reunion between these two.
The other thing, too, that, yeah, I don't know. Dude, we'll just continue. It'll be a good match. I just think that it's just cheese-balled up. Just don't let it get cheese-balled up.
Another highlight, we ended up getting a match between so the Pinnacle is making their first appearances together here, and we have a 6-man tag. We've got Shawn Spears and FTR from Pinnacle versus the Varsity Blondes and Dante from Top Flight. Pinnacle ends up getting the win. Shawn Spears gets the pin on Dante, and then we get all of Pinnacle in the ring to cut promos here. Dax, I thought this was interesting here, taking shots at Jericho and saying this ain't an SNL skit. And that hit a little close to home for me, because after we just spoke about nobody paying attention to Jim Cornette, every week Jim Cornette says that AEW and Chris Jericho in particular are constantly putting on low rent, shitty Saturday Night Live skits. So I think that jab from Dax was, I think that was done very purposely.
Yes. And then the other guy from FTR, what the heck's his name now? I'm having a brain fart off the top of my head.
Cash Wheeler.
Yes. His promo was I didn't care for that.
Yeah, I don't really remember what he said.
He just yelled like, "This is the Pinnacle, and we're family, and I'll die for my family." And it was a little intense. It's like, you guys have been friends for a week, so let's time out here, fella.
Yeah, MJF takes a little jab at Jericho about his weight again, saying the only thing he breaks is chairs when he sits in them.
What do you think Jericho's? Do you think he's just all in, like, hey, it's business and poke fun at me? I'm not in the shape that I used to be when I was 25.
I think so. Jericho's ego does get bruised a little easy, as we saw with his feud with Sebastian Bach a year or two ago. But I think he knows it's part of the show, and I think he sees the potential in MJF and how good of a heel he is already. And I think he's just rolling with it.
What are your thoughts? Yeah, so, and then anything else that you did? I'm going to be honest with you. I missed the end of this. I dozed off and missed, like, by the last 30 minutes. Did the Inner Circle ever make an appearance?
No, not at all.
I didn't think so. I looked up, and it's like, again, the second week in a row, you have a new faction that's supposed to be taking out the Inner Circle, but the Inner Circle is not there to be a thing to take out.
Right. Yeah, I don't understand that. Um, maybe they're saving it for a later date before a pay-per-view or something. I don't know. The eventual clash of Pinnacle and the Inner Circle.
Yes.
But right now it's just Pinnacle talking a bunch of shit and Inner Circle's nowhere to be found. Team Taz gets together and they want to let everyone know because Brian Cage did catch some heat,
This was,
as we spoke of before, because he's supposed to be a heel.
boy,
And they're supposed to be.
they're not going to break this group up anytime soon, are they?
No, not at all. You can't smell the tension from a mile away on this one.
You get a real barn burner of a match between Brian Cage and Ricky Starks.
Right. You could see that happening. But Taz has to drive the point home by pretty much burying Brian Cage by announcing that Brian Cage has apologized to the group for praising Sting and he apologized to Ricky Starks for singling him out. They didn't mention it here, but Brian Cage did not apologize for losing clean to Tessa Blanchard in Impact Wrestling. But at this point, Taz asks everyone if they're okay. We get from Hook. Hook says, yeah, he's good.
Oh, I was worried.
Just in case you were wondering what Hook was up to, Hook's good. And then you just see some dirty looks between Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. So there's the tension brewing in that faction.
Will Hobbs is happy to be on TV.
He didn't say a word. So how many times can you put together factions and break them up before you run out of options? They're eventually going to have like Darby Allin, Brian Cage, Cash Wheeler, and Orange Cassidy in a group.
In a subgroup, but they'll still be a part
right.
of but Cash will be still part of Pinnacle.
Yeah.
It's just bad.
They just put factions together and break them up so often. And we're only, a year and a half into this company?
Yeah. I mean, it was October to October was a year, right? And then it was, about a year and a half.
So, yeah, they got to slow down, man. They got to draw some of these storylines out.
That's the thing. They're still stuck in that independent wrestling mode where everything has to happen at the blink of an eye because you don't know what the next show is going to look like. So you don't have to tell a complete story every night. You have to tell a story, but it has to be complete. It's not the end every night.
You've got the same 750,000 viewers watching every week. You're not losing any of them.
So just
carry on a story.
Yeah, create some evergreen content here and make it last a while.
Yeah, this is booking ADD. I just this wasn't anything great, but I wanted to point this out that QT Marshall came out and he wanted to explain why he's got beef with Cody and why he's been acting like a pissy crybaby lately.
Did he ever explain to his wife why he was cheating on her with Bunny? Because now he's got a loving wife that's sitting in the crowd smiling and cheering him on.
That is precisely why I brought up QT Marshall. He points out in the audience his loving wife that he's known since 8th grade or whatever, but let's completely erase the fact that he was fucking Bunny from Butcher and the Blade. I can't remember her other name right now, but Allie, yeah. He was banging her for like 2 or 3 months, but now his loving wife is there cheering him on, and they've been together for fucking 45 years or whatever.
After his credit card didn't work anymore, Allie bounced, and now his wife's in love with him, and you're going, do you guys forget about the other story you told? Oh, wait, you said the end, so it's a new story. You're allowed to do something new.
Well, I'm convinced that Bunny and Allie are like 2 different entities now. They just kind of like drew a line between them, and so now that she's the Bunny again and she's not Allie,
it doesn't count.
The Bunny, Allie doesn't exist.
Oh, it's like a
therefore
Marvel.
QT never cheated on his wife with Allie.
It's like a Marvel Universe thing. It's a multiverse.
Right. It's AEW multiverse.
Oh, well, now that makes sense. Why did they just say that?
Exactly.
And then they're gonna have an unsanctioned It's because it's not a match, right? It's like a
Right. Like an exhibition.
exhibition was the word they called it. And Cody's
Which-
not going to go full force on him. If he can put the crossroads on him, he's going to back off. If he can put the figure 4 on him, he's going to back off. He's not there. He's just there to show that he's his best friend. And boy, did the crowd eat that up, didn't they? Cody's best friend.
I think they completely lifted that idea from the upcoming Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield fight in May, because Mike Tyson's been doing this whole thing where he fought Roy Jones Jr. A couple months back in an exhibition. They're not supposed to go full force. And now the hype is Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield in May. Once again, exhibition, not going full force. So I think they kind of lifted that idea that now Cody and QT, because they're friends, this is just going to be a friendly exhibition.
I think you're going to see something. I think they're going to try and push something where QT gets over on Cody and wins, and then Cody's like, then they have to go to a real match, push it for that, and then Cody just beats the shit out of him and turns him heel, and nobody cares.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds like a storyline that might take 2 or 3 weeks. So I don't know if AEW is capable of that, but we shall see. And then nothing else really stuck out. You had Mox and Kingston. They cut another fantastic promo.
I missed it. I'm going to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Kingston shined on that one. He's got a broken foot now. And then our main event of the night was Darby Allin and Johnny Hungy battling for that TNT championship. And it was just a bunch of goofy, contrived bullshit.
Get out of here. Get out of Dodge.
All the way down to, I don't know what we're doing here. John Silver attempts to win this match with a rear naked choke, but Excrement has to point out to us that John Silver's trying to win this match with the Queen Slayer. The Queen Slayer. And then in parentheses has to say, that's Anna Jay's move. Why? Why are we going out of our way to have Johnny Hungy use a girl's finishing move? I understand Anna Jay is part of the Dork Order,
but who cares?
But what's the fucking point?
Well, what's the point of making it a point? Really, let
him win with a rear naked choke or whatever.
It's the Queen Slayer, the rear naked choke, right? Same thing.
Pretty much,
right? It's the same thing. Just who cares? But no, make it a thing. Just call it the Queen Slayer and move on. You don't have to bury it in that it's Anna Jay's.
And make sure to point out it's the Queen Slayer. We've got 2 men, albeit both very small men. Neither one of them's a queen. I haven't noticed. I haven't seen a crown on either one of their heads or a pretty pink dress or rhinestones. They both appear to be men, and I don't think either one of them would feel very happy about being a queen. Not only are they a queen, but they're being slayed.
Yeah. It's just they make a point out of this and don't care about that. And that's what drives me batty about AEW.
Exactly. They go out of their way to point this shit out, but who cares about the fact that QT was cheating on his wife for 2 months straight?
On TV.
Yeah. She never saw it.
That's how bad the race. She wasn't one of the 750,000 watching. There would have been 750,001, but QT Marshall's wife was busy that night.
Yeah, so lo and behold, Darby is not giving up this belt anytime soon, seeing as how he just started this weekly challenge shit. Darby ends up winning with the code red.
Yeah, I wasn't too worried about good old Johnny Hungy winning that. I did. That was about all I missed because I saw everything except for the Kingston promo and the Johnny Hungy match.
Yeah, and after this, I think the point of this match was just so chaos could ensue. The locker rooms empty out and everybody's fighting. You got about 25 wrestlers just out in the ring fighting with each other. And I don't know, Tay Conti got beat up earlier. I forgot that match even happened. And so now Tay Conti runs out of the locker room and she's beating people up. And Yeah, I don't know. It was just a shit show. It was a waste. But
It was a waste.
that's that.
That's that. Well, there you go. And you know what I forgot to do in the beginning of the show, Eric? We got
I was gonna point that out, but I didn't want to put you on Front Street.
forgot
Brian.
to play a little overrated, underrated. So we're gonna do a little quick lightning round of it, real quick.
All right,
This
sounds
is
good.
Just gonna be WWE champions.
All
Just
right.
from over the years, just random here.
This would be a quickie.
Yeah. So we'll start out with Eddie Guerrero, underrated or overrated WWE champion.
Overrated.
Ooh, that was a surprise. They might catch you a little heat there.
I never really saw him as heavyweight champion material. Talented guy, but I never saw him carrying the company.
Do you think that he gets the Kurt Cobain, if you will, like because he passed away at such a young age, in the middle of at the height of his career, that he gets looked at as an icon because of that, because he didn't have time to decline on the backside?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's say, let me see here. Who was my next guy? All right. Stone Cold Steve Austin, underrated or overrated as WWE champion?
Just like the Attitude Era, it's impossible to overrate this guy. So underrated. He was way more important. People put him on a pedestal as one of the most important WWE champions of all time, but I think he was even more important than that. So underrated.
All right. Jinder Mahal, underrated or overrated?
Overrated. I think that was a huge mistake on WWE's part.
Okay, so all right. Underrated, overrated, CM Punk as WWE champion.
Underrated. CM Punk was one that from the beginning I didn't really see as WWE champion material, but once he got that belt, he just skyrocketed. And even though he held it for seemed like forever, I don't think he was even close to being done to what he could have did with that. So they took it away from him way too soon. Underrated.
All right, and we will do one more. Underrated or overrated? Who was my last one here? Underrated or overrated? JBL.
Oof. JBL definitely overrated. I never got the appeal of JBL. The only time I liked John Layfield was when he was Bradshaw and he was part of the
APA.
That was it. He had no business holding that belt.
Especially as that character.
Oh, right. The fucking Texas cowboy or whatever.
Texas millionaire.
Oil. Yeah.
The oil tycoon.
Billionaire. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Underrated, overrated, WWE Champions Edition. We shall play again next week. But I believe that wraps up everything we've got to talk about for wrestling this week. So once you guys hop on over to all of our social media platforms, that's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and subscribe and share over on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast there on Spotify or Apple Podcast, leave a review, leave a rating, and share it with a friend. And then, Eric, do you got anything for us?
No, I've said everything I need to say this week, Brian. So the last thing that needs to be heard is hooty hoo, we out the gates.